About on Boston has entered the chat. Travis Thomas here with my main man George Balecki on location in Foxborough Gillette Stadium for the Tom Brady retirement ceremony. Pomp and circumstance. Absolutely epic. George, this is the reason I am here in this city, my friend. Gillette filled with Pats fans. TD Garden filled with Celtics fans, neither in which had an actual game being played. I mean, it's unbelievable. No place on earth, forget Disney, no place on earth like Boston, my friend.
That's a fair way to put it. I didn't think about that. A completely empty stadium with 60,000 fans in Gillette tonight. And credit to the Patriots, credit to the Crafts. They rolled out the red carpet literally, and of course, imagination-wise too, and they just hit everything out of the park to honor Tom Brady. It's tough to honor someone like that, but they did it. And also, credit to Jaylen Brown for saving the Celtics season. We'll get into all that.
Okay, let's get right into it. Let's dive in here at first. 617-790-0928. As always, we always say this. Hit us on the Boston has entered the chat hotline. You can also email us always. We read them. We share. Sharing is caring here on the chat. Email us at thechat@nesson.com and also send us your tweets. All right, let's go there. Game 3 last night. Listen, at times it felt like the Celtics were running away with Game 3. Get out the brooms, this thing is over. And then you blink and the Mavericks are right back in it. There were questionable calls. There was high drama. I saw Jason Tatum dunk on the entire Mavericks team. And then, as you said, Jaylen Brown quietly, if you can believe it, quietly taking over a game late. And the Celtics take a commanding, dagger-like 3-0 lead on the Mavericks, George. Your boy Jaylen Brown did it again.
Hey, Jaylen Brown, 30 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 24 points coming in the second half, and just turned it on in the fourth quarter especially. Yeah. Tatum went 1 for 5. So let's talk about the fact that he is 2 for 12 in the fourth quarter, the last 2 games in the series. But let's also highlight the Celtics defense, because the Mavericks are yet to break 100 in any single game throughout these finals.
Right.
And while they went 4 minutes without a field goal in the fourth quarter and the drought was coming, Kyrie was hitting his shots, where was it? Jaylen Brown, hey, credit Tatum. His only field goal was that vicious dunk, but then settles again for a sidestep three-pointer, his favorite shot that we all hate to see after that. But then you have Jaylen Brown attacking the rim, going 4 for 7 in the fourth quarter. Derek White clutch, thanks to Drew Holiday being patient, being composed, and finding him out for a 3 for the assist. This Celtics team has too much and too many layers to them. And, of course, we got to highlight the fact that Luka Doncic fouled out in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But when Kyrie Irving is still hitting tough shots and giving them life, it's the defensive side of these Celtics. And it's also they just have so many guys that can answer the call that they are just relentless and beating down a tired Mavericks team. You know, we watched it before. I said game 2 was the one that the Celtics gave away, how poorly they shot from 3. Game 3, all eyes on, though. No Kristaps Porzingis. We'll see if he can return at any point in these finals. But nonetheless, what's that energy boost and the hope it gives the Mavericks and the life that breathes into them? I mean, Luka and Kyrie finally went out and combined to get damn near 60, which is what they need to do if they have a shot at beating the Celtics. But it is the dudes that the Celtics have showing up again late in this game.
I think that's well said. In fact, the whole time you were talking about that, I was thinking in my head about how now the narrative has shifted so much, and it's all because of the Celtics' dominance. Hear me out. When the Warriors were winning titles, it changed the NBA. Every team got shooters and started shooting deep three-pointers. I mean, literally, the Boston Celtics right now don't exist without the Warriors' dominance. I think we can agree on that. But I bring them up because the Celtics are so dominant during this postseason run and the regular season. Just let's call it the season period. They have been so dominant, George, that they have completely flipped this narrative on its head in these finals. Remember, coming into this, I believe we talked about this. Everyone was being hyperbolic, and I remember we didn't make too much of it, but there were people suggesting that Luka and Kyrie were the greatest backcourt we've ever seen, George.
Offensive
backcourt we've ever seen, right? Now, 3 games into this arse whooping that's happening, it is now Kyrie and Luka need some help. These other guys aren't getting it done. That's because of the dominance of what you just said. All the other pieces out now. Jaylen Brown's cooking. Don't get me wrong. And Tatum did pull to Tatum in the fourth quarter. I get it, but he still had a much better game.
31 points.
Yeah, it's a more efficient game. But the pieces around them are so good, George, and this team collective is so dominant that now it's changed the entire narrative around the Mavericks. We went from the greatest offensive backcourt of all time, ? To these guys need help. What do you want them to do? That's because of the Celtics' dominance.
Yeah, it's victim of the moment to call them the greatest offensive backcourt of all time. But certainly when both of those guys are hitting their ceiling and Luka is 100% healthy, they have that to them. They have that type of explosive, potential at any point in this game. And give it to what Kyrie is. He's one of the most talented offensive players to ever play the game when he's clicking and his handles are there. You called it. He's going to get a second wind in Dallas. I said, I think the defense got him figured out. But he goes out and does what he does, 27 points in this one, and was hitting shots at the end when Luka was MIA because he was on the bench with 6 fouls. But it just shows where the Celtics can step up. And it's Derek White having no problem picking up Kyrie half court. Because I'm at the point, too, where Kyrie's the only guy. Go and double him. No, they stay stubborn in the best way possible. And Derek White and Drew Holiday have the confidence, which they know. They can match up with him. They can stay step for step with him. And they can body him to get him uncomfortable and off balance and hitting some of these shots. So they're able to deter him. But yes, the Celtics team and the layers that they have to them, it just continue to take away the corners, continue to make them, just shoot threes from everywhere else, but just not allowing role players to get going. Derek Jones only had 2 shots tonight. That guy was pivotal in the Mavericks' run to these finals. And you give a credit to the Celtics as a whole with Kristaps Porzingis out with that left leg injury. I'm not going to bother trying to pronounce it. But Xavier Tillman playing significant minutes. Old man Al playing significant minutes as well. Yeah. These are the guys that have to step up with them down. Al Horford going 36. Now, it's going to be tough in game 4. Watch the dip. 1 day off between these two. It's dangerous when he plays so tight, but Xavier Tillman, 11 minutes. Even you having Sam Hauser step up. But it was basically with Horford and Tillman holding down the front court. I expected Cornette and Brissett to show up. They didn't even leave the bench at all. But it shows the depth and what the Celtics have with their wings on what they're capable of. And just getting someone, I think they'll regret that in game 4 of Horford getting that 36-minute mark anytime he's 30-plus minutes. But they needed every minute of defense in this game because they played bad. It was close at half. They opened up the second half with an 8-0 run. The Mavericks answered back with that 17-2 run, which took them late into the fourth quarter when it got to clutch time. But the Celtics answered the bell. And I think what I have to highlight in all this, I have it on my notes, is for Jaylen Brown. I mentioned it earlier, but 4 for 7 in the fourth quarter. Ooh. And he got it done attacking the rim, mid-range game. Long 2 where he got an inch of separation, just rose up and hit an ice-cold shot. That iced it. Mixing in a corner 3 as well. His 24 second-half points. Just credit to him, and I'll keep pounding it into the ground until I'm blue in the face. But what he has done to recreate himself and only get better with a guy that was just dragged through the mud all offseason long because of his poor handles, because of the payout he got. But mentally, he wants the ball in those big spots. And you can say what you want about the Celtics and their roster construction. Well, I think he is finals MVP. This 38-8 performance that he put together. Yes, that is what glows, but the Celtics would not be in this spot in the playoffs, in the finals, if it wasn't for him showing up when they need him most.
I think that's well said. I mean, just in that game, in game 3, the calmness, it felt like all hell was breaking loose there. And I know certainly as someone who picked the Mavs to win game 3, I thought, okay, here we go. This is their game they're going to get. We have a series now. And Jaylen Brown, just steady-handedness, got it done, ice-cold style. I love you, brother, but here's how I know we're spending so much time together. Even though physically we're apart here, right? During Game 3, literally, all I heard in my ear was your voice going back to Game 2 saying this was the Mavericks' chance, Trav. They're not going to win a game in this series. That was their chance. The Celtics gave them every chance to steal that game. They couldn't do it. And as Game 3 was going on and then the Celtics eventually iced it and pulled away, I said, my God. Now, George, for sure this series is over because you called out some things in Game 2 where the Mavs could have stole it. couldn't capitalize. Game 3, same thing. That's 2 games in a row now where you were close but no cigar. George, I think they get smoked at home in Game 4. This is a wrap, brother.
I would just like to shout out the recovery I have from going Mavericks in 6 on Hold My Banner and saying Mavericks in 7 on another piece, of beautiful media outlet, which my buddy Ben Stevens anchors, to now it went, right? After Game 2, you're like, I think the Mavericks win Game 3. I'm like, bro, it's going to be a sweep. You're like, how are we doing this? This is not the Mavericks team we saw, but it takes a special Celtics team to take them out of their personnel. And we saw certain guys on the Mavs stepping up, like P.J. Washington. He is strong enough to keep up with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. He just has to stay in front of him, and he was making plays like that towards the end, stepping up, forcing turnovers. The Celtics, tired legs, started playing the hero ball, which we hate to see, trying to shoot off the dribble, ending the ball movement, the drive-in and kickouts that we saw, but also that was performing well for them. Because even when it's corner 3 missed by Tatum, what does he do next possession? Drive in, Derek White, Al Horford. I'm talking ball movement here. Find JB opposite corner. He knocks down a 3. That's what's big. And what the Celtics got away from when the Mavericks began their run, but then when they returned to, put your head down, and I credit Jaylen Brown to this again. He just has the confidence in him, and he knows he has it. I'm going to put my head down, go to my spot, get the shot, and continue to hunt Kyrie Irving. But that's what I see. It's just the Mavericks, credit to them, taking a historically great team, getting it tight, keeping it close at certain points in the game. The last 2 late, but just cream rises to the top. The Celtics team is way too talented, and it's the guys and their leaders like Drew Holiday, like Derek White, that clutch 3 from the wing, man.
Yeah.
He's cold-blooded. He steps up to the moment, and also Jaylen Brown stepping up when they need them most. And it comes down to it's a make or miss league. The priority when it comes to basketball is putting it in the cup, and the Celtics have the guys that have continually done it in this finals.
Let's talk Kristaps Porzingis' health, man, because, look, I'm seeing reports that he's done for this series, and at this point, I kind of get it, right? Like, why even you contributed greatly to this ring you're about to get. Party at the parade with the rest of us, but, shut it down. You have to start thinking about the future with this guy. And, by the way, while we're talking about the future of him, this is just the reality of being in business with Kristaps Porzingis. Like, he's going to be banged up. I don't want to say you can't count on him because that just seems too harsh. But clearly, George, he cannot stay healthy. He has proven that throughout his career, although there have been pockets of time when he stayed healthy. But collectively, he can't stay healthy. So I just think, thinking of the future, don't even risk it for Game 4. Shut it down. If the Mavs happen to pull a miracle and win Game 4 inexplicably, thank you very much. We'll come back to Boston and finish this thing. But come back to Boston and finish this thing without Kristaps Porzingis. I think you definitely shut him down for the rest of this series. And listen, I think you just have to think about, at this point, the reality, if you want to deal with this, of doing business with him. Because this is what it is, right?
I think with Kristaps Porzingis, I agree. We talked about it. Do you play him Game 3? And I go, if the doctors say yes, yes. Right. But what's unique with his injury, and we saw it too, on that left leg, is the video is coming out. He's walking fine, no limp. He just has a sleeve. It's okay. The injury he has is very unique and very rare. And basically, there is a dislocation of a tendon in his foot, but walking is fine. It should be pain-free. It's when we're talking athletes here at the most elite level, especially someone 7'3". Yep. It's when you start sprinting, moving laterally. What you demand of Kristaps Porzingis, both ends of the floor, he can't go out and do that, and that's fine. This team is deep enough, but certainly he won Game 1 for them. Coming out the way, the energy boost he gave that building, 11 points in the first quarter, having 20+, playing like a top 5 guy, he went out and never gave the Mavericks hope at all in Game 1. Game 2, same thing. Energy boost off the bench, but he goes down and playing key minutes and kept himself in that game, but he knew he was compromised and playing through it in the fourth quarter as well. But it comes to this point, you're not going to play him Game 4. It's long-term health with Kristaps Porzingis, who is under contract with the Celtics next season as well. This is what's going to happen. Celtics are going to go into Dallas. It's going to be Friday night. They're going to close out the finals. They're going to sweep the Mavericks. They're going to come back to Boston. They're going to have a parade on Monday. They're going to celebrate. Maybe KP continues it on Tuesday. Wednesday, get that surgery, recover, go enjoy it in Latvia, because he can't play for his national team with this injury. And he has to think about his long-term health. Credit to a guy that's 30 years old and been through it. When he was drafted by the Knicks, he was playing 72. 65 games in the season. Tears an ACL, hasn't been able to be healthy since then. He did play 65 games for the Wizards before he came over to Boston, but nonetheless, this is a guy that's been through the ringer when it comes to injuries and a snake bitten, and that's what happens when you're his size and do what you can do athletically.
Yes.
Get this win. You get a ring. This city loves you. He is forever a king in Boston. You can guarantee that. Just go get the surgery in the offseason and begin his recovery for next season. But I think Kristaps Porzingis is done. Woj went out and tweeted about it. He's likely done for the finals.
Yeah.
And that's basically gospel when it comes to the NBA.
That's right.
But it is like people are going to continue to say, well, he's walking fine. It's okay. Understand this injury didn't happen to me or Travis Thomas or our awesome producer Brandon Wiedekind or our great director Greg Poth, who don't have to go out and athletically do anything in life.
Yeah.
It happened to an NBA player. You shut KP down.
Speak for yourself. I'm jumping out the gym, bro. Now, we ask you to send us.
No, I ask you to get in the gym all the time. You haven't been there in months. Get the heck out of here. Stop. Don't say speak for you. Speak for yourself. I was in there this morning. I ran 2 miles.
We ask you all to send. Okay,
no, I'm not
thank
done.
you.
And now I'm here.
Yeah. No, you're done. We ask you all to send in your tweets, and you answer in kind. Let's get to them. Also, hit us up on the hotline, 617-790-0928. Email us at thechat@nesson.com. Here's Luka's full game highlights getting tossed around like the Joker. How you feel about this, GB?
Try to draw that charge, but you couldn't turn that one over. Just 6 fouls for him. That is nuts. You're having Luka Doncic foul out in Game 3 of the Finals.
Here's from our friend BB Bundy. Mavs games, after watching this game slip away, looks like they just got socked right in the jaw.
Hey, he hit a big-time 3 late in the game. I mean, let's give some credit a little bit while we can to Josh Green. But, yes, that's basically what it was.
Please, screw him. How about this? Throw in the damn towel. This is from Carpo. Yeah. Absolutely right. Throw in the towel. This series is a rizap.
Yeah, it's completely done. That's one of my favorite Rocky scenes. Throw the damn towel. Throw the damn towel.
Should have listened.
For people listening.
R.I.P. Apollo. Violent Fights tweets. Mavericks fans right now. Pain.
It was their last hope to get one at home, but again, man, Game 2 was it. Final piece. This was it.
It's a wrap. No one can quite interpretate those tweets like me, GB. You got to give me props for that. All right, let's get to the GOAT. Tom Brady, Hall of Fame ceremony. George, you were there. Was it everything I dreamed of? I mean, it looked fantastic, but you were in the building. Greatness is radiating off of you right now. You have aura. Tell me everything.
This wasn't a Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It was just an experience altogether. And I said it off the top. I give a credit to the Crafts again. They knocked it out of the park. I was here in week 1 of last season when Tom Brady was honored at halftime. And you knew you can't give someone a behemoth like him. Right. You can't honor him in just, halftime of a football game. You have to give him his own night, his own day. They did it. It went almost 3 hours long. It opens up with Jay-Z performing public service announcement because that's what Tom Brady runs out to, but literally in person. Jay-Z comes out, crowd stands up, Brady walks out. You had Kenny Chesney performing midway through, Bill Burr doing stand-up, ripping on quarterbacks across all of the NFL. Mike Tirico, the face of NBC, one of the best to ever do it in our industry, really laying it down and emceeing it. And it was, you saw over 150 of his teammates show out. And speaking with the players that played with Tom Brady, have been through it, there was practice squad guys here, and of course they're going to show up if they get the invite. But speaking with people from his beginning in the league, like Troy Brown and Kevin Falk, to of course the Rob Gronkowskis and Julian Edelmans and Danny Amendolas that were here, and they all spoke about the human being that Tom Brady was. And when you see that many people come out to celebrate him, that's how you know he is someone special. I just have to say, all around, it was something to experience, something to witness, and it was 60,000 people making ear-deafening cheers with standing ovations for Bill Belichick, for Julian Edelman, for Brady, of course, and Robert Kraft. But also you see the love that this city has for their athletes, and obviously when something as magical as that happens for 19 years, from 2001 to his last Super Bowl win in February of 2019, when it happens that long, people grew up with Tom Brady and he became part of their life. And these teams that won the Super Bowls and even lost in them, again, are significant parts of their growing up in this area, you saw how much it meant. And I highlight Randy Moss in all this because he started speaking, and over a minute went by of a standing ovation for him because he came here. He set records. He was one of the greatest receivers to ever play the game. Tom Brady made him better, but he never got that Super Bowl ring. And you can tell for this city and this region how much they still love him and want him to get that. That's what I think is so big about it. And even speaking of, too, the surprises they had, Peyton Manning, the second greatest quarterback of all time, coming out as a surprise guest, sitting down, sharing his stories with Tom. Everyone, of course, spoke about Tom Brady, the competitor, but you see the love and the genuine appreciation they have for him as a human being, as a competitor, as a person. That's what's shown through tonight. I just got to say, it's tough to get something like this right. And you get a little skeptic in the lead up of you're going to make it this big deal over 2.5 hours long. You're going to do it in the stadium, right? You're going to lift up the floor. How do you do it right? The Patriots did it right by Tom Brady.
Well, I mean, one of the ways you do it right, it starts as a top with the owner. I know you caught up with a ton of people and got interviews. You got some sound from Robert Kraft, right?
Yeah, Kraft was great. And, anytime you get him going to talk about Tom and the team and everything, he's magnificent. But he was great to talk to and sharing all his stories. And, he's a long-winded guy, but it was very cool listening to him and literally standing right in front of him to hear him speak.
Well, I've never, outside of my family, I never met another individual like Tommy. He's a guy who could go in the huddle, and Randy can attest, he'd make average people better just the way he led. But you see him off the field, and he's got such a heart. Excuse me. Got such a heart, and he's so sensitive to people. He'll cry if the moment calls for it, and he's not afraid to do it. He's a very caring, good human being, and we were lucky to have him, just like we're lucky to have this guy.
I mean, George, I feel like that was the sentiment of everyone there in the spot. And I heard, too, that I saw that Brady was just giving credit to everyone else. It was like even in his moment, George, he accepted it, but he was still giving credit to teammates and Robert Kraft and his family and everyone that helped make him who he is. I think that speaks to who Tom is as well, my friend.
Yeah, saying tonight's a celebration of everyone who has ever cared about this organization, everyone who has cheered for its past, present, future.
Right.
He singled out every single teammate he's had to the practice squad, saying they made his life better. He'd go to battle with any of those guys. And what the Patriots did so well, too, is the presentations of the quarterback room was up there. The defensive room was up there. The work ethic was there of Gronk, Edelman, Amendola, the QB room, Matt Castle, Brian Hoyer, Josh McDaniels, Drew Bledsoe, like everyone's showing out. But the defensive guys talking about him, and Willie McGinnis, who is one of the best players to ever wear a Patriots uniform. You needed him to do something. He got it done, whatever the assignment was. And in the fourth quarter, he'd step up with a sack. He said, and you always hear about this and just hear, oh yeah, of course, it's the myth. It's what everyone says. No, he was dead serious in talking about Tom Brady. And they said from the moment he was a young quarterback, they recognized the greatness in him. Ty Law as well, Devin McCourty pointing it out of just how special he was and how much he competed in practice. And that's what it was. This guy, just by being him, naturally brought out the best in every teammate he had. And what you saw was a cool piece, too, of them sitting down with his family, talking to his parents, talking to his sisters. You see how often Tom Brady, I don't think he has any tears left for the next few months because he was crying so much tonight and tearing up and getting emotional.
Yeah.
But how much it all meant to him. But it was just, once again, you take a guy that looks like a supermodel, performs like a premier athlete, and has all the success in the world and all the charisma, and he felt human and relatable, and so tough to do that. But the Patriots did that tonight, and that's what really stood out to me about Brady.
Well, George, you've absolutely been crushing it in terms of interviews really all week long, the Brady stuff all day. Plus, we understand that you caught up with local comedian who really stole, for my money, she stole the Tom Brady roast. She stole the spotlight of that. You caught up with Sam J and talked about that Brady roast and also just her Patriot fandom in general. Take a listen.
Sam J in the studio.
It's good.
Thanks for stopping by. You're in the middle of your
thank you
tour.
for having me.
Yeah, across the country. How's that been so far?
Pretty good. You know what I mean? It's been moving. I can't be mad. You know, people are turning up and showing out, so it's been fun.
How is it whenever you come back to Boston and perform? Come back to your home city?
This is only going to be my second time in September
Really?
at the Wilbur. Yeah, so I did it last year around June. And this will be my second time coming home. So the first time it was cool. We sold out. It was a good time. So I assume this time's going to be the same. You know what I mean? I'm hoping.
I would imagine, you know, you were a household name before with your stuff on SNL and obviously your series you had on HBO Max and Peacock and all that. But after the roast, I would imagine stuff's changed a little bit.
Absolutely.
And it's not just you being on the roast. Like, you went up there and killed in your time.
Thank you, man.
So what's it been like after the roast, like the aftermath for you?
More white men recognizing me.
Hand up, I guess I'm one of them.
Yeah. A lot of older white guys like, you're Sam J. And I'm like, yeah. So I think definitely the fan base is changing, you know what I mean? And just getting broader for sure.
What was that like? Like, when did you find out you were doing it? How did you prep for that? And you went out, you're like, I'm going to go at Drew Bledsoe. I'm going to go at Tom Brady, and you brought the heat for them.
Yeah. Jeff Ross called me like maybe 6 days or 7 days before the roast, something like that. And he was like, hey, you want to roast Tom Brady? And I was like, hell yeah. And I didn't really realize how big of a deal it was, which sounds stupid and retro, but I just wasn't thinking about it. Like, this is Tom Brady. This is Netflix. It's not going to be like, I'm still putting it in the terms of a festival. I'm like, oh, it's just going to be some like little cool festival thing. I'm not thinking it's going to be like this big live stream thing that everybody's going to watch, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, immediately I just went into trying to get my jokes together because I didn't have that many days to get them together. And my friend Megan Gailey helped me. My homie Radio Raheem helped me. And then, of course, the writers in the roast were very good about like just, you know, guiding me, letting me know what people were already doing, kind of what to stay away from. And, you know, everybody who wrote for the roast was just so phenomenal and such a great staff. So I just had all that support, you know what I'm saying? And kind of just went in with some ideas of kind of where I wanted to go with it. And then we just kind of walked them through and talked them out, me, Megan, and Radio. And then I would just go to the cellar, you know, work on them every night, refine them in front of an audience until I just got it to where I thought it was ready to go.
How do you do that in front of an audience without like the people you're roasting being there? Do you kind of
It's
set
very
it up for them?
awkward. You got to set it up a little bit because it's super awkward. It's a super awkward thing to do. And it still doesn't feel great. You know, like you're not getting the best response because they're just kind of like, well, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And we have no reference point for any of it. So it is way more just to like say the stuff out loud and kind of hear the rhythm of the jokes and how things are landing. But you can't really get a good gauge on like, is this going to work?
Yeah. Now, was there any that were shot down? Because you go up there, you're comparing Drew Bledsoe's Super Bowl ring to a strap-on. The OBGYN jokes you're saying with Tom Brady, one last go. I didn't know comedy could still go there, and that's what I loved about the roast. It was, like, refreshing. But was there any part of you were given, you know, your jokes you submitted, and you're like, hey, you can't go here, you can't go there?
No, not for me. They didn't tell me. They didn't give me any parameters, really. They were kind of just like, do your thing. And I was like, okay. And then when I sent them the jokes I had, they were like, yo, these are great. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, cool.
Was there any point when you're staring down Tom Brady, going at him, making those roast jokes, you're like, in your head, you're like, holy shit, that's Tom Brady?
The whole time. The whole time. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, it's Tom Brady. I hope he doesn't get mad at me because I love him.
Yeah. I think, well, in the beginning, you saw, like, when you were starting your joke, he's sitting there like, where is this going?
Yeah.
And by the end, he's keeled over laughing his ass off.
Yeah.
If you had the time, would you have went at Bill Belichick? You had some jokes for him?
I didn't have any jokes for Bill. No, I didn't actually. I was really specific because I was like, I only got so much time, and I had only so much time to write the jokes. So I was like, I picked my 3, and I was like, I'm just gonna hone in on this and get this as like good as I could get it.
Who do you think were the best? Like, who impressed you as the non-comedians that went up?
Oh, non-comedians.
No, you know what? F it. Who impressed you the most that night?
Nikki Glaser for sure. She killed it. She was so funny. I was impressed by Edelman. He landed a lot of the planes very well, I thought. I was impressed by Gronk, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I thought his was really funny. Peyton Manning was really good. And I thought his was really good. Drew Bledsoe actually did a good job, too. A lot of the athletes, I was surprised, like, they had the timing down. And they were, like, landing the planes. You know what I mean? I was like, whoa, okay. They're doing this. And that kind of made it fun to do, too, because you could see that they were, like, really getting into it. But I would say probably Peyton Manning and Edelman impressed me the most.
Growing up a Patriots fan, did it hurt you have to say like Peyton Manning was good at it? But I mean, like Tom kicked his ass. It's not like it was Eli.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want him to be good at it. Like when he came out, I was
Yeah.
like, boo in my head. You know, I wasn't booing out loud.
I
in
feel
my head.
that.
I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
boo. And then I was like, oh man, he's likable. You know,
Yeah.
like dang, he's actually likable. Bummer. But if it was Eli, I wouldn't have cared what he did.
You hate him no matter what.
Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered to me.
I got to admit, because I grew up a Patriots fan, but when I was in college, at one point I interned for the Giants. It was Odell Beckham's rookie season, so Eli's still there. I
Cool.
honestly hate. Yeah.
Damn.
You know who's cool? Who I hate too? David Tyree.
Damn.
The two people I hate the most in my childhood. They
They be
ripped my
cool.
heart out.
Yeah, they be actually cool when you talk to them.
You meet them, you're like, I actually you, and I
Yeah.
hate that about them so much.
That's messed up. That you told me he's cool.
When you met Brady, were you starstruck at all? Like I know I saw you took photos with him after and everything.
Yeah. I mean, like in my head, I don't think I hope I didn't act like it, but in my, in my brain, of course, I'm like, oh my God, it's Tom Brady, like, you know. But like, I was trying to be like, chill.
What was it like getting up close to him? I mean, there was like the collagen jokes or whatever Edelman was saying
Right.
about his face. But when you get up and close to him, I mean, it's like candidly. Does he like? I saw the photo you posted with him. I'm like, that guy looks like too much work. But when you got up close to him, it's like, hey, it's Tom Brady. He's just a good-looking dude.
Yeah. I didn't I don't know. I don't judge Tom at all. I think everything he does is perfect. I think I
agree.
I think he's just like the perfect being. Like I don't, like people say stuff, I'm like, I just don't see it. It's kind of like Shallow Hal. Like you can't get me to see that.
I think it's the hate on him the most. I mean, he won. He was successful wherever he went.
Yeah.
Obviously, a good-looking dude. You know, he got to that point in his career. He's like, I'm going to do the modeling thing. Who cares?
Yeah.
And he was unbeatable. So, yeah, people are going to hate him no matter what he does.
He's like, he wouldn't even lose his hair. It started to go. He was
I
like,
know.
nah, I don't
know.
lose nothing.
He's like 57. He's got more hair than me, and I'm 30.
Hell yeah.
And I hate
think
that.
that's so cool.
I'll do the same thing when I get the money for it. Well, for you growing up here, also, what was that like to get the call? Was there any connection of like, hey, you're from Dorchester, you're a Boston sports fan? Or was it solely like Jeff Ross knew how good of a comedian you were and he wanted you up here on that?
I think it was both.
Okay.
You know, I've known Jeff for a long time. You know what I mean? I met him, you know, early into my career and stuff. And, you know, we've been on the road with Dave together, so we know each other pretty well. And also, he knows I'm from Boston, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? So I think it was like a win-win type of a situation, you know? And I think they were happy to have at least one person from the city, like, on the dossier, you know?
Mm-hmm. Did you know the magnitude of the roast when you were doing it? Like, did you understand?
No, not
Really?
at all. I was being dumb. I kind of minimize things in my mind intentionally because I just don't want to get overwhelmed by them.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So like as soon as I heard it, I was like, just do the work. I just went right into like write your jokes and da-da-da. So I wasn't thinking about it. Like, I don't know what I was thinking, but I just wasn't thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got to the forum, I kind of was like, okay, we're at the forum. And then my manager was like, yeah, we need you down at the red carpet in like 10 minutes. And I was like, oh, there's like a carpet for this? And she was like, yes, Sam. Like, what do you think this is? And I was like, okay. And then I'm like, go to the carpet and it's like people like flashing and like calling names. And I'm like, and I looked at my manager. I was like, so this is like a big deal. And she was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, but then it's like, yeah, duh, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Netflix.
Exactly.
They
Them
spent a
coming
lot of
together.
money on this. You know, like
They're going to make it right.
They're gonna make it right. You know
Hype
what I
it up.
mean? And then when I went to like run the rehearsal and I saw like the audience and it was like Kim Kardashian and all the little card placements for who was gonna be sitting where. And then I realized like, yeah, everyone's gonna be coming like dressed up. I was like, oh, this is like a thing.
You knew, I didn't know if anyone knew Kim K would be there before. I was surprised she was there at all.
Yeah. I didn't find out till I went to rehearse like 2 hours before.
Yeah, I think it's better off. The second I'd see that name, like let alone Tom Brady's and whoever was there, the second I see that name, like, oh shit, this is gonna be a big deal.
That's what I thought. Seriously. It was serious. Like once I saw that, I was like, oh, this is like a thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
It's a good thing you brought a good fit with you, like to
Yeah,
rock there,
yeah.
not knowing there'd be a red carpet,
I
because
knew-
that matters.
They told me like to wear a suit, so I was like, cool, I'll wear a suit. But I don't know. I just thought for the optics of it, they wanted us in suits.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking like I just wasn't putting it together. It was very silly of me.
Did you grow up watching roasts?
I have not seen every single roast, but I've seen a good amount.
Yeah, so you like knew it, but to be that big.
And yeah. I knew what it was, and that's why I thought they wanted us in the suits or whatever. I was like, oh, they're gonna have us in the suits or whatever. And it was at a festival, so that's the difference too. I was just putting it all within the guise of the festival.
Yeah.
And I wasn't thinking about it as its own thing.
I understand that. And then was it the next day, like, or actually, I mean, like night of, your phone blowing up? maybe followers going up on Instagram, whatever it may be.
It was like overnight kind of for sure.
I'll tell you, because we were watching it in the office and you got up and like I'm listening, but I'm like typing stuff, like I'm more listening to the comedy, and then you started going. And it's like the strap-on joke. I'm like, who the F is this? One of my coworkers walked on. He's like, oh, that's Sam J. I'm like, look it up. He's from Dorchester. And then you did the Brady jokes. I was like, holy shit. Because you just went. And like, whatever, how much time did they give you? Like, do you know how much time you get up there?
I feel like we all had like 5 to 6 minutes or 4 to 6 minutes or something like that.
Whatever your 5 minutes was, like you went out, like shot like 7 for 7 from deep, had a posterized dunk. But like, I think that was sick was like you went up and there was the big names, the Jeff Rosses, the Burt Kreischer's, Andrew Schultz was there, right? But you went on and you just put your imprint on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so that's why I ask, like, you know, did it kind of like amplify even more, I guess, on the comedy scene?
Absolutely.
But I feel like, you know, comedy fans knew who you were, though.
Yeah, that would say, like, I wouldn't say necessarily on the comedy scene. Like, all those comics that were there, I've known for a long time.
Yeah.
We've known each other. They know me very well. So it wasn't like that. And, you know, I'm pretty known within comedy, not to, you know, stroke my own strokey.
No,
but
you're good. I'm a casual at comedy.
I do
you
think
know?
it did like bring me more out of like
Yeah.
the niche comedy, people that know comedy, you know, and it kind of expanded that audience to casual comedy fans, people that just like Tom Brady. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like kind of, it brought in kind of everybody for a moment in a way that I haven't had a moment like that yet in my career, for sure.
It's cool because it bridges fandom. I mean,
Yes.
that's the perfect way you put it. There's just sports fans and people that love Tom Brady, like Buccaneers fans. You know, it's like, you know, a good few years for him. And then there's the comedy fans that are watching because it's a roast and it kind of connects everything on that.
Exactly.
And to put you on completely like different people's radars and everything.
100%.
I mean, for me, it's like, you know, like Bill Burr is my favorite comedian because I feel like what he says is so true. Like, you know, like it's accurate for real life. Obviously, Chappelle's great. Like, those are the guys I know. I saw him live and it was like, he was here at the Garden and it was like the gift of his storytelling. And, you know, it was like 17,000 people, but you felt like he was talking to you, which is like what like boggled my mind, like truly gifted, not talented. Like he had a gift.
Yeah.
But like you go up and do that. It's like, all right, now I know Sam J. I knew Andrew Schultz, but like now I know him. Nikki Glazer, same thing like that. So what does a roast like that like do for comedy, you think, as a whole? Is it just, again, it bridges the audiences?
I think it bridges the audiences. I think it also just like to see us doing, because really like at the end of the day, it's a little bit insular, right? We're up there, we're competing with each other. We want to like out roast each other. We're having our fun little back and forth. We're laughing. It shows like the community of it. And I think sometimes people will like isolate somebody like Schultz and be like, I don't like his style of comedy, or I don't like these jokes, or these jokes are offensive. But when you see all different types of people sitting together, joking together, hanging out, throwing shots at each other that are harsh as hell, it's like, yo, it's a lot more even playing field than that. You know what I mean? And I think it shows that as well.
It's kind of like what comedy is. It's like all the different jokes coming together, different type of deliveries and everything too. On all that. What about Patriots? Like, what do you think? Drake May, Gerard Mayo?
I don't know, man. I'm just gonna watch. I'm just gonna chill and watch.
The pain of watching Mac Jones for 3 years just came through.
Man. I'm just gonna sit and watch.
Be patient.
Patient. I have no predictions. I have no theories.
Yeah.
I will say I'm tuning back. I will say I tuned out. I'm going to be tuning back in.
The Mac Jones era had you tuning out.
I stopped last year. I said no.
Yeah.
My brother was watching every game. I said, why are you doing this to yourself?
Why are you doing that grief?
Yeah. I said, what are you doing this to yourself for?
It's torture.
He was like, you just don't watch anymore? I said, no. There's no reason. I'm not doing it.
I think it's like one of the healthiest relationships you could have as a sports fan of like, I'm not going to watch that because I know it's going to be, and I'm not going to put that pain on myself.
I'm not going to just be up here sad every Sunday, bro.
I think patience is the right thing with May because I think it's going to take a few years because the roster's that bad.
Yeah. I got to just
And he's going to take a few years to be like a solid starter. But the kid's ceiling's great. Like he'll be better than Mac was ever close to being, you know?
Yeah. I agree, but we just got to chill.
Yeah. All right, you gave me your Boston Mount Rushmore. If you gave me your like top 4, your favorite, you know what? I'll give you top 5. Who are your 5 favorite Patriots players ever?
Dang.
No Mount Rushmore here. I'm giving you a little more of a roster.
Okay. Harrison.
Rodney Harrison.
McGinnis.
Should be a Hall of Famer.
Tom.
Yeah.
Vince Harry.
Yeah. Cold-blooded. Gronk, yeah?
Yeah.
I like that. Gronk's greatest tight end of all time. Obviously, Brady's
he's also
a goat.
just fun.
Right? I think, like, his existence is the greatest because he was a pro athlete, got out there. It was okay for him to just be a frat boy. And right now, he's still, like, he makes jokes at his own expense of being dumb.
Yeah.
And, like, no one cares. there's like no expectations for him, which I think is awesome.
And he's way more like in on the joke than I think people think he is.
Good for him.
No, seriously, like I thought he showed that in the roast when he got
Yeah.
up there. Like he's way more in on the joke than people actually give Gronk credit for.
Yeah. Who out of like Boston athletes or Patriots players you met, you're like, damn, he's like a real, like just a low key, salt of the earth, down to earth person.
You know, weirdly, Drew Bledsoe, after I made fun of him, I was like, he's so cool and he's so nice. And we like
Yeah?
hung out and we like drank at the Comedy Store. And I was like, this dude is rad.
Fresh off the roast.
Yeah. He like came and chilled with the comics. He's so cool.
I respect that about him of like, it's comedy. You came at me, but that was
Yeah.
funny as hell. Like I can't.
He put me
hate.
in the headlock. It was
Did he
awesome.
really?
Yeah.
He's a big dude, Drew Bledsoe.
I
People
was
don't
like,
know
Drew's
that.
cool as hell.
What did he say to you after? Did he give you like?
He was like, why were you so mean? And
Yeah,
then he
you're
like
like,
put me in the headlock. And then we like drank, we did shots and stuff.
I want to end this talking a little more about your like tour across the country and you being back at the Wilbur in Boston in September too. What excites you the most? Like second show coming back to Boston.
Just the energy, I think it's just going to be so different since the roast. You know, I think more of Boston knows who I am as well. You know what I mean? And so to see just the energy, I just think the energy is going to be real live. I'm just excited because I think it's going to be like, it's going to be fire.
What makes a venue like the Wilbur special?
That's where everybody goes, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
was growing up. I was going there to see like plays with my mom, and that's where every comic came through. And especially when you first start comedy in this city, you see the little marquee outside of who's coming, and you're like, man, one day, you know, one day. It's one of those one day, and it's in your city, you know. So like being able to do that at home and have one of my one days be crossed off the list is fire.
I'm getting chills about that. And when you started, was that always like an aspiration to get into the Wilbur? Like when you were chasing open mics and everything?
Yeah, I mean,
right?
I remember at a Nick's comedy stop, which was across the street, in that club over there. And they had another room that was below the Wilbur. And they would do shows there. And I was headlining, or I was featuring one of those shows that was, and some more was at the Wilbur above my head, literally on top of me. And you could hear the laughs from the Samore show, like bleeding down into our show. And I was like, one day I'm going to be upstairs and not in this basement doing a show, you know what I mean? So like, for sure, from, you know, very early, when you start to just set benchmarks of your own city, the Wilbur is a place for Boston.
That's awesome. That's a great note to end on. Sam J, I appreciate you taking the
Thank
time.
you.
Awesome to meet you.
Nice
You're
to
a
meet you as
great
well.
person.
Thank
Love your
you.
comedy. September 7th in the Wilbur for Sam
Yeah,
J.
September 7th.
In Boston.
Grab
It's a
your
Saturday
tickets.
night. Yeah, get the tickets. Come out, support her. She's from the city. Loves it. Always represents it. Sam, again, thanks for the time.
Appreciate you.
And George, we'll end it on some somber news here on Boston Has Entered the Chat. We all know now sports has lost an icon in Jerry West, who passes away. I'm just looking at his accomplishments here, George. I mean, this is incredible to me. 14-time All-Star every season of his career, 12-time All-NBA, All-Defensive Team, 5-time scoring champion, assist champion, All-NBA team, 35th, 50th, and 75th anniversary teams, 9-time champion, once as a player, 8 as an exec, Final Four most outstanding player, All-American going back to college, Olympic gold medal, and oh yeah, by the way, George, he's the logo. I mean, just an unbelievable, absolute force of nature in basketball. Sports as a whole, we as fans lose an absolute icon in Jerry West.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is literally a basketball lifer. Like, second he was done playing, got into it as an executive, leading the Lakers to so many titles, was part of the front office that put together Kobe and Shaq even after their magnificent run through the 80s.
right.
As a guy that's been through the finals so many times, what is it, 9, I believe, and only won 1? The heartbreak that followed him, but he eventually got through.
Yep.
25,000 career point club, that is what he's in as well. 1 finals MVP, even though the Lakers lost in that finals this year. But this is someone that just always was around basketball, worked with some of the best players to ever be in the game. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, like the list goes on. And he said he's a logo. You know, you don't speak hoop, you don't speak NBA without mentioning Jerry West. And this is a guy that achieved so much more than just playing the game, but what he did, he has a lasting impact on what the Lakers' legacy is. He has a lasting impact on even working with the Clippers, breaking up Lob City, getting
Right.
Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in there. Like, to his last breath, this man was all about the NBA, and you credit that to him. I mean, he gave it his all as a player, gave it his all as an executive as well. I mean, it was truly his passion. And with Jerry West, everything he stood for, you have to love. And the game we both love to watch,
Yep.
a league that spans across the globe now in popularity, and just a simple sport that is, something I love to do and love to play when we can, is something we grew up watching. It has his fingerprints all over it. So it's fitting that Jerry West is the logo of the NBA. So we say RIP to Jerry West. We send our love and best wishes to his family, and so long to one of the GOATs.